Good morning. Good morning. Good morning. Welcome to Wednesday. We have sunshine. We have blue sky and sunshine. It's as if spring has arrived. I put it in its place last week because it hadn't arrived. And then I went out last Wednesday into nature, and there she was, spring. In all the hedgerows, in all of the trees, just everywhere. So I apologize to Mother Nature. Spring is here. And it's definitely spring this morning. Good morning, Melanie. Yes, it's definitely spring out there today. Nice blue sky, lots of sunshine. Welcome to Wednesday, everyone. As always, if you're watching, do please pop a hello in the comments. Good morning, Heather. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Joy. Thank you to everyone that joined us at the Wild Witchcraft Conference on Saturday. It was a blast. Some of the most amazing speakers. I was captivated the whole day. Absolutely fascinating. And thank you to everyone that came up to say hello. And, lovely to see familiar faces and meet new ones too. Good morning, good morning, good morning, Jay. Good morning, Karen. Good morning, Kat. Good morning from a lurgy Maria. Oh, stay on the other side of the screen, Maria. But I hope you feel better soon. Good morning from a sunny Normandy. Good morning, Jalala. Oh, Melanie, it's peeing down in the northeast of England. We'll send some sunshine your way. Good morning, Jane. Good morning, Amanda. Good morning, Deb. Heather, it was a fantastic and inspiring day. Yes, it was. Wild Witchcraft, definitely worth the day. Yes, absolutely. Fascinating. I learned lots of things, which is always good. Good morning, Kerry from Llanelli. Good morning, good morning. So yeah, here we are, another Wednesday. Near the end of March. Where does it go? It's getting older, isn't it? The older you get, the quicker time goes, apparently. Anyway, good morning, Debbie from Suffolk. Don't think I've ever been to Suffolk. I don't think I have. There's lots of places in England I still want to visit. Yeah, I've got a list. Good morning, Emma. Eric is not up here with me. He's out in the kitchen in the sunshine. In the spring and the summer, when the sun comes through the windows in the morning, he sits there in the warmth. And as I noticed this morning, because the sun was shining through the windows, they need cleaning. Good morning, Steve. Lovely to catch up with you at the weekend. Maria, need to have words with the Kelech. Yeah, she will. She's hanging in there. I think we've still got her for a bit longer, but fingers crossed. Good morning, David. Lovely to meet you on Saturday too. Oh, everyone's on a big telly. Oh, no, we don't like that. Good morning, Harmony. Good morning, Angela. Oh, wet and windy in France. We'll send some sunshine across because we've actually got some today. Yes, fabulous weekend. Still on a bit of a hype from it, even though my presentation was not as I'd wanted it to be. It was one of those things where I was talking about Sulis. Haven't done that talk before, so it was all new. So I had a few notes, which I'm always uncomfortable having anyway. And I had a slide presentation, which I've never done live on stage before. Thank you to my Disney princess, Heather, for pressing the buttons to move the slides. But I ran out of time. I had not timed it properly at all. So, yeah, it was a bit, I'll get it right. I'll tweak it. Maria versus the Kelech. Yes, David. No, there's a fight we'd all like to see. Debbie thinks the Kelech has insomnia. She's fighting back. It is traditional. She does fight for a little bit longer. Yeah, she's still there. It's a little bit early for her to be departing just yet. She will hang on for a bit. Good morning, Vintage Witchcrafts. Good morning, Jackie. I have my tea already because Pete's on a business call downstairs at the minute, so he made tea early. So if you can hear his dulcet tones in the background, that's him being all professional. So I thought today would be interesting to talk about how we learn witchcraft. How did you learn witchcraft? One question. How do you prefer to learn? Question two. It's not good. Let's start that again. Right, first question. How did you learn? Did you learn witchcraft? Second question. How do you prefer to learn witchcraft? And third question, I guess, how would you want to learn it? Yeah, three questions, kind of. Good morning, Candy. Jane says the poor old Kalak's probably fighting back against global warming. She's just fighting back. It's not quite her time to give in yet. She likes to kick up a bit of fuss in March into April. So she's not ready to go yet. Good morning, Candy from the USA. Wow, you're up early or up late, one or the other. Good morning, Trudy. Good morning, Janet. David says the Kelec has bought a new alarm clock, so she's not going to sleep until she's learned how to set it up properly. It's not new. She's still here. Traditionally, she's still here for a bit longer, fighting back. Good morning, Eva. Right, so that's the question of today. Learning witchcraft. How did you learn it? Did that work for you? How would you prefer to learn it? What changes would you like made to the system of learning? That's today's subject. Right, let's get some of these up. Maria, I learned through books and school, the Kitchen Witch School. Thank you. Prefer to learn from research and your lives and posts. That's interesting. I think when I first started learning, it was pre-internet. So all I had were generally American books. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Very Wiccan. Because that's what there was. That's what I could get hold of at the time. Would I change that? Well, things have changed immensely now, haven't they? There are online schools, there's online courses, there are face-to-face courses. Back when I began to learn, and before then, the main core of learning witchcraft was to belong to a coven, and it was all very secret and all very shrouded. There weren't any in my area that I knew of at the time. And of course, that was finding out without social media and the internet. How did you find out about things in your area? But there's so much now with YouTube, with online courses, with online classes, with online chats, with online courses. But there's still in-person stuff. There are workshops, there are conferences like the one I went to at the weekend. There are books, obviously. Lots of books. How is best to learn? How would you prefer to learn? I guess is the question. But a combination, perhaps. Karen, I'm still learning witchcraft and will be until the day I pop my clogs. Oh, me too. Even 30 odd years in, I am still learning. I learnt stuff at the weekend. Moss Matthew did an amazing talk about German dragon spirits. It was fascinating, and I learnt so much stuff. Dave, Damn the Bard, did an amazing talk on animism. Mara Starling talked about Welsh fairies, not my area, but still fascinating, captivating. It was brilliant. It was brilliant, and I still learning. I still do courses and workshops and things when I can find ones that interest me because I love learning. Good morning, Bella. Emma, feeling a little low today. Big hugs to you, my lovely. Chat always cheers me up. It is one of my best parts of the week. I learned via books and by doing, but a lot of study was involved. I think you've hit it there as well, isn't it? I was a book witch to start off with because that's all I had really. But once the sort of world opened up and I realised there were like-minded people near me out there in the world, I probably learned more by getting out there and doing it. But I think the books gave me a good structure, a good foundation. I have known the odd person that's read one book and then declared themselves a witch, which stretches it a little bit. But I think as well, I think we remember witchcraft. I know. I'm not sure it's necessarily learning. I think it's more about remembering. But the books and the courses and the talks and everything, they prompt those memories to come back. I, oh, Heather, yes. Don't change your clout till May is out. Yeah, we've got April's showery, isn't it? British weather. I I was at a barbecue going back a few years now at Easter, and it snowed. So yes, that was the Caliph definitely fighting back. Jackie, I think they are interesting questions as Wicca and witchcraft are so much more accessible now. Yes. And more entry points than years ago when it was quite underground. Yes. Or when I first started learning, which is well over 30 years ago now, I thought I was the only person in my area that had those beliefs and thoughts and interests. It was only once internet started opening up that I realized I wasn't alone in my area. Yeah, it's different now, very different now to when I started. There are so many more options available to you, but that gives us choice. So if you choose, what would you prefer? I love reading. I do love reading. I love books. I like learning from books. Because it means I can self-pace and I can pick it up when I want to. But is there that thing with books that you do just get a bigger and bigger and bigger to read pile? Is a structured course prompts you more? I do like structure of learning. I do, you know, for all that I am kitchen witch and using whatever's to hand and trusting my intuition, which is all good. When I'm learning something new, I do like the structure of learning. You know, I'm a bit of a certificate tart, let's be honest. Marie, it's ongoing. You never stop learning. No, indeed. Karen, I prefer to learn from trial and error. I do use books, but learning from peers, other witches, is definitely the best way. I don't think there's necessarily a best way or a right way. I think it is what works for you. Everyone is different. Everyone is unique, and we all learn in different ways. Trial and error is good. I think you're right. I think you have to experience this stuff. Spell work's a good one. A lot of people are nervous about spell work. And, you know, it's good to have that healthy respect for it. But the only way you're going to learn and get better at it is by doing it. You can read tons of books on spell work, but until you've actually experienced doing it, you're not going to learn as much. You have to try these things. You have to work with these things. I think. Oh, hi, Tony. Facebook is sometimes a bit temperamental. If anyone's having issues with it ever, hop on over to YouTube. It seems like a much more stable platform. Candy, I learned from books. I would have loved to have learned from a teacher in person, but I grew up in the Bible Belt here in the US, and it's very hard to find anyone, so I read books. That's it, isn't it? It's finding someone local to you as well if you have that requirement, which isn't always easy. I think we're probably quite lucky in the UK that we don't get an awful lot of resistance. Generally, I say generally. Maria, if it's buffering on Facebook, hop on over to YouTube because it does seem to be more stable. Oh, I've got hiccups. Jane, I didn't have a clue about learning witchcraft till I saw an article in Best magazine, good old Best, back in '97. Ended up buying Titania Hardy's book Hocus Pocus and never looked back. It was all through books in those days. Yep. Then I found an online course with the House of Jupiter, which seems to have disappeared, and I joined a local moot. All this was pre-internet, but there were a lot more witchy shops in those days, so they formed the basis of a community. Yes, we used to have several witchcraft shops in the area, which are no longer there and haven't been for some time. I don't know why. Emma, I keep learning all day, every day. Yep, continually learning. Delilah, I learn anything practical better if I'm shown. These days that is fine online, especially because it means I don't have to go anywhere to learn. Yep. Theory I like to learn with a combination of audio and text, but reading often makes me go to sleep. Yeah, I listen to podcasts at bedtime and that always sends me to sleep. Generally, I listen to Sherlock Holmes because I know those stories inside out, and it doesn't matter if I fall asleep. Yeah, I think the practical side of it too. Something like ritual, let's say, which is a set of instructions. You can read them, you can write them, but I think until you actually do them and keep doing them, that's the point where you remember. That's how it works for me anyway. I read all the stuff, I write all the stuff, but then it's actually putting that into practice, actually doing rituals that set it in my head that that's the order that it goes in. You know, flexible anyway. I'm talking the sort of basic Wiccan ritual structure, the whole casting the circle, calling the quarters, inviting deity, doing your thing, and then reversing it. That took me actually doing several rituals on repeat to set that structure in my head. So for me, yes, practically doing stuff is what helps me retain that structure, that information, because I have a brain like a sieve. I really do. Eva, I was making it up as a kid until I realized that it was actually a thing that I learned through books. Spiral Dance was quite often people's first book, I think. I think there's a whole set of books, isn't there, that are people's first, because that's all that was out at the time. Silver Raven Wolves to fly a to fire bloom. Oh my goodness me, have a cup of tea. Right, to fly a silver broomstick. There you go. Tea works. Was my first one because it was one of the few that I could get hold of. They were quite limited at the time. Later came the internet, but so much was poor quality that I mostly stuck with books for 20 plus years. The Kitchen Witch School has been great for continuing education. I learned so much all the time. Oh, bless you. And your homework is always fascinating. Always fascinating. I think that's also it as well, isn't it? The thing with the internet, it's brilliant. I mean, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now if it wasn't for the internet. And Kitchen Witch Online School wouldn't be there because if we didn't have the internet. But information on the internet is not reliable. There are so many blogs and websites that I see where things are copied and pasted, particularly if I'm doing research for something. So Sulis was one. When I was researching Sulis, I actually bought books by archaeologists because it was the most reliable source of information. But I thought, just out of interest, I would have a look on the internet because there's not a huge amount known about her. Thought I'd have a look on the internet to see what spiritual information there was. I didn't find a lot, but what I did find was all identical. From website to blog, copy and pasted. All the correspondences, all her characteristics, literally just copied and pasted. And some of them were so random and vague. I have no idea where they got them from or why. Correspondences that I came up with have come from working with her, but also from looking at her, looking at where she was worshipped, how she was worshipped. Not that we know very much at all, but archaeological finds. Where do these correspondences come from? And why do people insist on just copying and pasting them? So if you are researching on the internet, check the sources. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There's a huge amount of misinformation out there. And that's really sad. And books are always good, but again, check the sources. There are several AI authors, big thing in a minute, several AI authors selling on Amazon, and they are literally books made up by a computer. Some of them sell in the hundreds and thousands. Some of them have tons of reviews, but they are made up by a computer. So the information is not going to be correct. Just saying. Just check. Just, do a bit of research because there is a lot of misinformation out there. End of lecture. Joy, I started tarot at 15. I've done Reiki and crystal healing. Bought loads of books over the years on the occult, but never practiced until now. Started making spell oils and doing candle magic. Love candle magic. Love learning and reading, but need to balance that with practice. Love all your books, by the way. Can't wait for the dragon one. Thank you. Yeah, dragon. We're doing something special with the dragon. We're doing something very special with the dragon. There is a book launch in June. It's going to be a 2.5-hour workshop, free, online, open to everyone. I'm going to do a talk on dragons. The girls are going to join me, and we're going to do the dragon ritual from the book. And we're going to have a chat about how you connect with the dragon, correspondences, how to work with them. So like a little bit of a mini workshop, really. Details on my website and on my Facebook page. There's also a little bit of a secret squirrel project going on as well, which is in the very early stages. And that's it. That's all I can tell you. Bit vague. But I diverse. Or something. Jackie, so for me, late 80s, met witches at a social event, got chatting, given a copy of What Witches Do by the Farrars. Yes, another one of the legendary ones, as my coven was a hive off from them. After reading, got back to the coven and joined. It's finding, isn't it? I think that's that thing. In those days, pre-internet, how did you find those places? It was always quite difficult. And I think probably a lot of us just learned from books because that's all we had available. I found a grove first, offline. I found an online coven first, then my first offline experience was with a druid grove. And I'm, grateful for all of it, really, because all of it has added to my journey. David, I learnt from books back in the day. I felt it had answers to questions to my childhood. Occult oddly didn't call me, but witchcraft felt like home and remembering. I think that's it, isn't it? That's, you feel like you've come home when you find it. Joy, I'm a 58-year-old beginner. Yeah, go Joy. There's no age limits on this. Jalala, as a kid, I didn't have a name for it, but I was very aware of intent and making changes using energy. As an adult and a therapist, I can look back and recognize I was looking for some power, perhaps felt powerless. Interesting. Yeah, I understand that. Hannah, I think books are a good basis, but you need to put the practical effort in. Absolutely. Courses are helpful because the information learned can become a jumble if there's no structure. Yes, that's a good way of putting it, Hannah. I think I like courses because then I'm guided. Yeah, and I still do. I still love working different courses. Usually got one or two on the go that I'm working with. Jane, I learned a lot over the decades, but I'm really enjoying the Kitchen Witch School course. Thank you. Even if I know some of it already. Yeah. I mean, you're experienced and your work reflects that. It's providing a solid structure for everything, and it makes me do things I wouldn't otherwise bother with. I think that's the structure, isn't it? That's the one of the positives of a course is that it gently nudges you to do things. And I think as well, even for those of us that are long in the tooth on this path, it's nice sometimes to go back to basics. And actually, Dave down the bar was talking about this on Saturday. It's nice sometimes to just stop and go back to where it all started, go back to the basics, and think about why you're on this path. But I think for me as well, sometimes it's good to go back and do those basic exercises again, just as a refresher, just to kind of remind you of where it all started and remind you of the basics and the foundation of it all. I believe we remember and learn witchcraft. I was doing spells as a child. No one told me about witchcraft. I just did it. I can remember. I had a friend that my birthday is the 31st of October. I had a school friend. That's when we lived in Chertsey. So I would have been about 7. And my friend had her birthday the day before mine. So we always called ourselves witches. Halloween. And I can remember being at the bottom of her garden making spells with leaves and dirt. all kinds of icky things. Yeah, I was there. Good evening, Zephora. I learn from nature. I learn from books. I learn from sharing of knowledge. Actually, nature, that's an interesting one as well, isn't it? Nature teaches us so much. There's that connection, isn't there? There's that connection, and I think that is a big part. And nature can teach us so many things. Debbie, finding like-minded people helped immensely. Books also, but it's a sense of familiarity. Deja vu, if you like. It's a remembered knowledge. Yes, absolutely. I do think we remember an awful lot of this stuff. David, from those early books, I wrote to Vivian and Chris Crowley, who taught me the basics and opened up my world. Excellent. Yeah, fairly early on, I was taught by Janet Farrar and Gavin Bone. I did their progressive witchcraft course, which was fascinating. Angela, 50 odd years ago for me, spent hours and hours browsing through the esoteric section of the library. Too young to buy books of my own at that point. Yep. Yeah, I struggled to find much in the library, I must admit. Trial, error, and solitary practice. However, I'm still learning and always will be. Yes, totally agree with that. Karen, reading the books gives you a starting point for your experiments. You only find out what works for you by trying it out. Yes, yes, and yes. I usually have a little stack of the little post-it tab things, because I don't write in books and I don't turn the pages over. Horror. So if I'm reading fiction books, no, but if I'm reading a witchcraft book, I will have a little thing of the post-its, and I stick the little post-its on the pages with things that I want to try, or things that I want to go back and research more. Yeah, they're prompts, aren't they? Candy, we finally got a witchcraft shop that stayed. We had a few, but the church ran them out. Started learning witchcraft back in the 70s. My teachers were Scott Cunningham and Silver Ravenwolf. Both legends. Both absolute legends. David, I learn now by listening to everyone wiser than me, which is mostly everyone. Rubbish. Rubbish. I think it is, for me, witchcraft is about sharing. That's what I love about, one of the things I love about these Wednesdays. We learn from each other. Somebody will say something and I'll think, oh, that's interesting. And then afterwards I'll go off and have a look. And hopefully everyone does the same. We all learn from each other. No one's wiser than anyone else. We have different areas, perhaps, of knowledge. I learn a huge amount from my students. There's different perspectives, isn't there? There's different ways of looking at things. Karen, learning bits and bobs from my daughter Emma, but want to learn more. She is a good teacher. David, my copy of Spiral Dance has loads of notes in it. It looked more like my cookbooks. I do love a cookbook. I have a whole section in the hall of cookbooks, bookshelves with just cookbooks on. I haven't got as many cookbooks as I have witchcraft books, but it's a fair old collection. I love cookbooks. Emma, I learn from books, but I struggle to learn from books and reading alone, if that makes sense. Yes, it does. I have to learn by both doing and reading. Joy learning on Kitch Witch because it's easy to understand and do. Thank you. I guess that's another question, really. If you are doing an online course or learning with an online school, such as Kitchen Witch, there are others. They're not alone. Would you benefit from talking to the teachers online, face to face? Would you prefer that, or do you like doing an online course where you can work at it at your own pace and you don't have to interact with people? Is that, Kerry's son's come out. I told you I'd send it your way. Jane, pre-internet, a lot of witchy shops, moots, etc., used to advertise in the small ads at the back end of magazines. There were. I don't want to use the word cult. There were magazines through the post, the little individual self-published ones. Yes, I belonged to a Terry Pratchett one, and I used to get a magazine through the post once a month, all hand printed. It was fascinating. I loved it. Yes, there were a few as well, weren't there? There were a few pagan ones back in the day. Uh, yeah, I have heard people say that they used to see adverts on the notice board at the local libraries too for witchcraft moots and the like. Sephora finally finding my tribe. Oh, yeah, it's a thing, isn't it? It's a definite thing. Emma, my third book, Wicca and Witchcraft for Dummies, was very helpful though. I've not read that one. I've read their one on Akashic Records. That was very good. It's all good. It's all good. Amanda, being an avid book learner, books are my go-to. Yeah, me too. However, the more I read, the more conflicting the information. Ah, yes. That was when I learned that my intuition was key, and now I only read authors who resonate with me and my path. I cement my learning by putting what I learn to practice. I think that, yes, there is a lot of misinformation out there, a lot of misinformation. So it is wise. If it doesn't resonate with you, it might not be that the author's rubbish. It might just be that that particular route is not for you. Witchcraft is huge. It's a huge umbrella, and there's all sorts of different ways of doing things and all different pathways. So definitely about finding the person or people that resonate with you. Absolutely. Jackie, there was a kind of vetting process to the coven back then. Oh, absolutely. Sit in for a few gatherings and see if you're a fit, if you were both right for each other, etc. Learned so much back in the day. Solo now. It was, wasn't it? It was that you couldn't just join a coven. You had to be a right, as you say, a right fit for it. It was all very much. I don't want to use the word secretive, but it was really a lot of everything that was learned. Was kept within the coven too. Sephora, looking forward to getting back to kitchen study over the winter, being incredibly sacked over the summer. I think it happens, doesn't it? Summer is actually the quieter time from the other side of the schooling course thing. People are out and about. They're at events, they're at conferences, they're out in the garden, they're camping, they're holidaying, whatever. Winter is definitely the busier time for learning and study. Yeah, absolutely. Angela, also pre-internet, there were mail order newsletters that had articles and info. Yes, you could often find adverts for shops and events in them. Yep, that was my Terry Pratchett one. Yeah, bad. Hi Xenia. Totally forgot maybe to watch it live today. You're here. It's all good. Jane, hearing some of the comments, I realised that I too discovered the idea of internet a while back. My first nervous breakdown led to damage that went on for more than 12 years before I got fed up with the feeling of being on the outside of my life, watching it go by. I suspect quite a number of us can identify with that particular feeling. So I started a thing I called self-bullying, using the memory of how things used to be, emptying brain cells and willpower to build bridges in my brain. Took more than 2 years, but I finally unblocked everything. Go you, Jane. Well done for doing that. I think we can probably all identify that. The menopause was what made me feel like that, and I'm still battling it now. But I think it's also important now, particularly with internet, to remember that you're not alone. You are not alone. If I can help with anything, reach out to me. Heather, Ness, Sue, Kitchen Witch team, they're all here. We're all here to help anybody if we can. So even if you just want to sound off to someone, do reach out to us. We will do whatever we can to help and support. Mainly because we've all been there and we know what it's like. Eva, yes, the school definitely forces me to explore new areas. We'd never have worked with dragons before. Yes, I remember you were a bit hesitant about that one, weren't you? But there you go. Dragons are for everyone. Then I had to do the dragon lesson. Wow, I now work with an earth dragon regularly. Structure really helps refine and deepen my practice. Yeah, I'm always going to fight the corner for the dragons. Zephora. I take screenshots on iPad, clip what I want and pop it in notes. Modern version of sticky notes. I do take screenshots. Not on iPad because I hate iPads and Apple and anything. But I do take screenshots of lots. Yes, I have a lot of notes saved. This perhaps is where we need to make technology work for us. Whilst we are nature-based folk, technology, make it work for us. Use it to help our lives made easier, or rearrange those words to make an actual grammatically proper sentence. Embrace technology to make it work for us. Yes, absolutely. Even said the pet store. Yeah, supervised pets should always be supervised in the pet store so they don't steal things off the shelf. It's all right with Eric. He's not really tall enough to steal things. Karen, music festivals used to be a good source for esoteric books. Picked up quite a few there in the 80s. Now that's interesting because my husband, Pete, the hand with the cup of tea, is a musician. He's a drummer. He's been in a rock band for nearly 40 years now. Actually, more than that. Doing my maths. He joined the band when he was 17. He's 61 now. So, yeah, a long time. He often has people come up to him at his gigs and ask about what I do. Is there a crossover between pagans, witches, and music? Quite possibly. But he's always quite surprised at how many people come up to him and ask about what I do when he's at his gigs. Yeah, I think there might be a crossover there somewhere. Jane, I've never belonged to a coven, but I do belong to several small groups and circles. We spark off each other and learn all the time, which is brilliant. But I also think it's about, this is where your intuition comes in. This is where your hinkyometer needs to go into overdrive. I've belonged to one other coven other than the Kitchen Witchcraft. I've belonged to a druid group, but I've been to several moods as well, and I've been to other groups for rituals and the like. Sometimes you feel very welcomed, sometimes you feel very comfortable. Other times I've thought, you don't want me here. I think you have to trust your intuition about whether that group feels right for you. I had this wonderful idea when I first started this journey that pagans were lovely people and everyone loved each other and everyone was wonderful. And because they had pagan beliefs, there was never going to be any grief, any arguments, any jealousy, oh, how wrong I was. Pagan politics, witch wars. We're human beings at the end of the day. We are human beings at the end of the day, and we're not going to get on with everyone, and not every pagan and not every witch is going to be a nice person because we're all humans. So we all have our unique individual characteristics, personalities. You are going to clash with some people along the line. So if you are going to a new moot or looking to join a new coven, trust your intuition. If you feel uncomfortable, walk away. If they're asking you to do something that you feel uncomfortable, and we don't necessarily get a lot of covens these days that do the whole skyclad thing, if that's not your bag and they're insisting that you do it, walk away. You should never feel uncomfortable in a coven. Now, I push our students sometimes. I push the Kitchen Witch team sometimes out of their comfort zones. But that's about learning. That's about growing as a person. But if you feel really hinky about something or a situation or a particular group or particular people, know that you're in control and you can just walk away. Not everyone is lovely. Just saying. Another lecture. Lots of lectures today. Angela, my exam project for RE O level, they don't do RE anymore, it's called philosophy now, was a compare and contrast between Christianity, Buddhism, and witchcraft. Passed with flying colours, but surprised they allowed me to do it. Obviously, a bit more open in the 70s. My children, now early 20s and late teens, they learned about Christianity and Judaism. That was it. Didn't learn about any of the other religions, which seems a shame, but there you go. Sephora. I love books, but they are so expensive in New Zealand. I wonder why. So most of my stuff is digital, but I'm going to treat myself to Dragon Book for birthday. Very excited. That's sad, isn't it? That is sad. Although the price of books has gone up. And just an aside, as an author, Eric's barking his head off downstairs. As an author, we don't set the price of the books. The publisher sets the price of the books. So I am not responsible for the price that they are. Thankfully, my publisher keeps them fairly affordable, but they have gone up. All books have gone up because the cost of everything has. So remember, you can always borrow things from the library. Even if they haven't got it on the shelves, they should be able to get it for you if you ask. Xenia, I learned through books because only in the 90s the translated witch books. Now that's another thing about translations. Some of German authors came to our local bookshops. Some of mine have been translated into French, and there is a couple of the others have been translated into another couple of languages. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head. But yes, I don't think we think about that really. We have no witchcraft related moots, talks and events in my country, and internet and social media wasn't a thing. Later I browsed websites and forums. Chat rooms used to be a thing at first, didn't they? I belonged to a couple of pagan chat rooms back in the day. Jackie, great books from yesteryear by Paddy Slade, Ray Beth. I loved Ray Beth's books. Marion Green, Faraz, still reread them. It's always interesting to go back and read things from back in the day. They're different. There was a different way of working then, I think. Things have become more fluid. And actually, I think witchcraft should. I think witchcraft needs to be fluid. It does, to a certain degree, need to move with the times to incorporate new ideas and new beliefs. But it's always interesting to look at the older stuff. A lot of my practice comes from more traditional witchcraft these days and folk magic. Folk magic opened up a whole new world of stuff for me. But that's going backwards. But it makes sense now, if that makes sense. Tony, I find it useful to do a combination, like the British Goddess one where we had a Zoom meet once a month. Okay, yes. We ran a course on ancient British goddesses. We had PDFs. We had a Facebook group. We have PDFs. But yes, a monthly Zoom meet too. Yes. Combination. That's good. Debbie, back in the day, my mud and flour concoctions drove my mum insane. She couldn't understand why I was so obsessed with earth, water, and her prized flowers and herbs. I'm pretty sure I used to put all sorts of stuff in it from the kitchen cupboards as well. What a mess. Emma, I like the fact that I can talk to you all at any time and ask questions about anything. Makes me feel at ease knowing that you're there in case I need you all. Bless you. We are here. Makes us feel useful. Makes us feel wanted. Maria, I love dragons. I have 2 or 3 if you count my Tudor mint clock. The 2 are named Albert and Jasper. Haven't really thought of working with them. They're just family. Yep. It's good to have dragon family. Xenia, having read all the books about witchcraft and magic, also ceremonial and hermetic, is a blessing because it prevents from getting to groups or teachers that aren't good for me. It is about trusting your intuition, isn't it? I think it is. Are we perhaps trusting as human beings? And we think, like I did initially, oh, every pagan group's going to be lovely because they're all pagans. They all love nature. So they're all going to love each other. Trust your intuition. Won't let you down. Karen, it was much more risky to be out as a pagan back in the day. Absolutely. So secrecy was sometimes necessary. Yes. Yes, absolutely. I did a university course a few years back now on the occult in Victorian times, and it was a real eye-opener. Oh, they loved their ectoplasm. And I think that's where a lot of the secrecy whole thing as well. It was exclusive. The Victorians loved the occult. They loved that it was elite to be invited to these secret groups as well. Yeah, perhaps we do. Perhaps we, as humans, we like to have something special, something secret as well. Be part of it. But yeah, it was more risky to be out. And I think we are perhaps more lucky in the UK. We don't get quite as much resistance or horrible reactions as they do in other parts of the world. Xenia, Spiral Dance was my first proper witch book, as it was for many. As it was for many. Good morning, Eve. That's my stomach rumbling. I apologise if you can hear that. Claire, I learn from courses and books, but like to practice solo. As someone with additional support needs, I always look at courses that offer the option to ask the tutor in case I need some extra support to adapt or understand something. And I think that's really important. Online courses are brilliant because they open up to everyone, not just from a distance point of view. They give access no matter where you are in the world, which is brilliant. They also give the option to work at your own pace and in the peace and quiet of your own home. If you don't like interacting with other human beings, and why would you? Because, I understand that totally. If you don't like big groups of people, online courses are brilliant. But I think they do need that contact there as well. If you need support, if you need help, you need to be able to reach out to someone and ask questions. So perhaps it is, as was mentioned, it's a combination of stuff. Again, different for everybody. I don't often watch a whole YouTube video because it doesn't go in very much for me. I realise how ironic that is as I record them. I do listen to podcasts. And I realised I haven't got my banner up. Look, talking about the podcast. There we go. I do listen to podcasts. Perhaps I should just listen to the YouTube ones. Yeah, that would make sense, wouldn't it? I like research. I like writing things down. I like being pushed to do stuff, to research particularly. I love research is one of my things. But, got to work for everyone. And I've now lost all of the comments have all gone squiddling up the screen. Right, there we are. Jalala, I do like learning about the history of witchcraft and seeing how many things link together, like Hermeticism and Freemasons, how the Romans and Christianity influenced the creation of witches. Come across a load of really old books from the 17th, 19th century, and they are fascinating. Whenever I start a new book on something like Sulis, like dragon magic, I go back as far as I can in my research. I go back for Sulis. I went back beyond the Romans. I went to archaeological finds. With dragon magic, I went back to folk stories. I think it is for me. And if you are working with anything like fairies, for instance, a lot of the modern information is misinformation. Go back to the folk stories. I learned a huge amount in the last few years about looking at how the Romans practice, how they worshipped the gods. Because there's some fascinating ideas in there, and everything can be adapted as well. So yes, absolutely. History is important. Even if it's bad history, it's important. even if it's history that we probably embarrassed about now, it's still important. We learn from it all, or we should learn from it all. Jalala, you asked about online learning and whether we would like to talk with tutors or simply work alone. My answer would be yes, sometimes one and sometimes the other. So for me, it's about having the choice, having the opportunity to do both. Yeah. Yes. Angela, my Peter has worked with dragons for years. He did a dragon magic presentation at a WitchyCon, I think it was 2001. Started to write a book, but then life happened. It does. Life happens quite often and gets in the way. He has a beautiful dragon familiar, apparently because I've felt her but not seen her, obviously. Brilliant. Yeah, the dragon has walked with me for probably since childhood. He's been there with me. It is a wonderful energy. Maria, rock metal and the occult paganism are usually connected, always appears to have been. Yes, I would agree with that. David, good old Witchcraft. Oh, yeah. Pauline, I just stay away from those who don't like me, pagan or not. Very wise advice. Karen, ask 3 pagans a question, you'll get 5 answers. Oh, every time. Angela, used to go to moots in Oxford. Been to Oxford, very nice town. No, city. Some good, some not so. Belonged to Coven for a couple of years, but it fell apart, more like exploded. Do you know that's a bit of a repeating story? Is it perhaps controversial here? Is it perhaps that every group needs someone to lead it? You do need a leader because otherwise nothing gets done. You need someone that's going to organize things. You need someone that's going to steer things. You need someone that's going to literally move it forward. Unfortunately, on occasion, that position draws people that are there just for the power of it, and that can go horribly wrong. Trust your intuition. Xenia, I started my witchcraft way with a lot of books, which I still have. Oh, yes, I have all of mine too. I don't throw them out. Later had a new age phase and learned very useful energy work techniques in-person courses. Found shamanism, which I'm sticking to in courses, and now the heathens adopted me. I think it all forms part of it, doesn't it? I mean, I love picking from the pagan buffet, as I call it. I have worked. I've worked on shamanic practice courses, workshops. I've been on Viking Shield Maiden workshops. I've been on Chakra Aura, the more New Agey courses as well. All of it, you can take the bits that you want and meld them together to make your own practice. Yeah, I think that's the lovely part of all of these things under the paganism witchcraft umbrella, is that you can pick and mix to a certain extent. Emma, I was of the same thinking that every pagan and witch were wonderful, all loving. Nope, soon learned that lesson. Yeah, sad but true. He was back again. That is some super fast shopping. I am impressed. Jane, you can't get away from politics in any sort of group. No. Though I have to say the ones I belong to are very unpolitical and therefore very comfortable to be in. Yes, hopefully Kitchen Witch is the same. We do try to keep it that way. It surprised me recently to find that there had been infighting in one of the groups, but it's been kept under wraps, so no one is made to feel they have to be in one camp or t'other. The worst group I belonged to was the local Franciscan fraternity years ago. Bitchiness and skullduggery was off the chart. That's a brilliant word, skullduggery. And actually, if anyone is looking for something to read, the Skullduggery Pleasant books, fiction books, fabulous. Really, really brilliant to read. Sorry, yeah, brilliant word. Yeah, it's one of those things, isn't it? I mean, Kitchen Witch has been running for, I think we're on our 12th year now. I've only ever had to remove one person in 12 years for basically being horrible to everyone. So I am, fingers crossed. It happens. It does happen. Jamie, I learned through books going back 30 years ago now. It's scary when you think about it, isn't it? Still love good bookshop. Oh, I do. Bookshops. Oh, secondhand bookshops. Brilliant. I was often called weird. I didn't care. I preferred a nice old musty second-hand bookshop. Oh, absolutely. Definitely agree that not every book will resonate with you, and that's fine. I have several by Scott Cunningham and other authors. I was always drawn to nature and the night moon. Especially liked your book, Beneath the Moon. Thank you. Tread lightly across the internet. So glad I found your page. And it's very lovely to have you with us. I count my blessings that all of you found us, or vice versa. Because the energy is always for my talks, for the Kitchen Witch rituals, for any of it, the Kitchen Witch School, the energy of it is made up of all the people that come together. And I am very, very blessed. Very, always grateful for that. Jane, perhaps we should make a point of asking all of our libraria, it's a good word, to order in witchy books to ensure an ever-growing witchy section by themselves, of course, if we can. Now, what you might not know, fun fact of today, is that libraries pay authors. It's not very much. We're never going to get rich. But each time a book is borrowed from the library, if the author has registered with the public lending rights people, we get a little bit of money. I think for the last financial year, I got £26, which is not huge, but it's enough for a curry. So, libraries, we've got to support our libraries. We really do have to, because they are going under. So the more you support them, the longer they'll be there. And I think they are a brilliant source. I used to take my children there every day. My dad used to take me to the library every day. In fact, my dad is 81. He still goes to the library every week. Use them. Definitely use them. Jane, not wrong with folk magic. It makes us aware of our roots. It's where it all came from. It is where it all came from. It is the root, not just our roots, but it is the root of magic and witchcraft. Judy, library was a source 40 plus years ago, but more of myths and legends, herbs and nature. Then a town 3 miles away had a spiritual fair. First shop opened near my place of work. Realised that through talking to others, I didn't feel so alone. That's quite important, isn't it? I think that's important. We talk about being a solitary practitioner, but sometimes it's good to reach out and talk with like-minded folk. Life is learning, books, events, fairs, and now podcasts. Thank you, Rachel, and guests. I am so honoured to be doing the Pagan Board podcast. I cannot tell you. And I secured a very special guest coming soon, in which information seems to absorb better in this 60-year-old brain. I'm solitary now, mostly by choice, but I have a local moot every month if I need to. Do you know, I think that's important too, isn't it? I am elder of the Kitchen Witch Coven. I am a high priestess. It took me 8 years to work through the Wiccan degrees, but I earned my high priestess title. I don't use it very often, but I earned it. So we have the coven, but I also work as a solitary. It is the best of all of the worlds. And it is absolutely okay to do that, and it's absolutely doable. Sometimes we like to work on our own. Other times it's good to work with other people. Best of everything. Jane, I think witchcraft now is less structured and more individual to the person. Yeah, I think it's moved with the times, and I think it has to. I think it's interesting to do some of the more structured and ceremonial stuff if you want to. Definitely experience it to see whether you like it or not. But yeah, I think it is. There is more of a less structured and individual. But bear in mind, the cunning folk and the folk magic that we draw upon, they wouldn't have had structure. So gotta work for you. Xenia, a lot of occult texts and artwork in rock or metal music. Yes, absolutely. Folk metal bands. Yep. Karen, hoping to join the Kitchen Witch School tomorrow. Karen, message me. Answers change all the time. They do, yes. Xenia, love the Victorian occult aesthetic. They also had a tendency to death seances and mediums. Oh, they were. ectoplasm, seances, table tipping, the whole shebang. They loved it. Amanda, best thing I ever did, resource stuff, fantastic. I love your picture. Oh, that's how cool. That's all I ever see on here is the little tiny avatars. If I ever meet you face to face at an event, please tell me who you are, because I wouldn't recognize anyone from their little avatars. Sephora, I love the new video series Heather's doing. Hop on over to the Kitchen Witch Coven YouTube channel. Heather has her own playlist on there now, and she's doing Heather's how-to videos. So she's showing you all sorts of things within witchcraft on how-to instructional videos. It's fabulous. Love the podcast, but it takes me about a month to finish as I fall asleep quite frequently. Yeah, absolutely. Podcast first and third Friday of every month. There's a new podcast out with some fascinating people. Jalala, the old books are fine once you realise their F's are S's. Yes, anything written in the older books can sometimes be a bit of a struggle to read. Yes. Nanette, wondering how you pick a book to read. I get a lot of books when I'm doing research. So, for instance, the Dragon Magic book, when I was researching that, I literally trawled bookstores, online bookstores, real bookstores, for anything that was source material, not new, because quite a lot of the new Dragon Magic books are a little bit fluffy. I wanted the real stuff. So I went back to the folk stories, the legends of folk stories. When I was writing about Sulis, I went to the archaeological books. So Barry Cunliffe, fangirl, archaeologist. I got all of his books on Bath. So for research, I go back to the source ones, the folk magic ones. If I'm doing research as well and it involves something historic, I will look at the academic books and the academic papers. If I'm just reading a book on witchcraft, I will go on recommendations. So quite often the Kitchen Witch girls and I will say, oh, I've just read this book, it's fabulous. But I will look and see what I'm drawn to. Always check the reviews online. Always check the reviews. Usually, though, I trust, if it looks interesting. I've bought some duds in my time. I have bought some big old duds in my time. I think recommendations is probably a good one to go with for that. I was in a ritual magic group that exploded too, and after that I'm wary of close-knit groups because that experience is horrible. It is. I like to join inclusive groups here and there where I can go with my intuition. Trust it. It won't let you down. Emma, chat has cheered me up. Excellent. And as a bonus, I have some love hearts. Oh, fantastic. David, audiobooks are great for learning. I've been getting into those these days. Walking around the freezer aisle with a ritual for summoning Lucifer being recited in your ear really adds to the shopping. It would. Audiobooks are good. I do tend to fall asleep if the voice is quite soothing, though. Xenia, absolutely agree that a group for group rituals needs a leader to get the ritual work properly. What I can't go with if the leader wants to be my boss of my whole private life. Yeah, that ain't gonna happen. What you need is a boss who's a total control freak, but has a team with her that are not scared to tell her when she's being arsey. I am very blessed to have that. Sephora, UK is the country of my ancestors, definitely where the DNA of my witchcraft comes and where I'm tuning into for info and training. The whole DNA thing has opened up a whole bag, and I know we're way over time and I don't care. That's that whole bag of stuff, hasn't it? I've had mine done. 47.2% English, 47.2% European, which is Dutch, German and French. And then the rest of it is Scandinavian, which is fascinating. Absolutely fascinating. Good morning, Kate. I'm going to just go through these last comments and then we'll wrap it up. Angela, the inner bookshop in the back street of Oxford was a wonderful spiritual bookshop, mixture of new and second hand. It was a real treasure trove. Oh, let's hope it's still open. Emma, I've been banned from my local library. You rebel! Someone stole my card, took books out and never returned them. Oh, no. Go under a false name. Book under a false name. Debbie, my mum was taught by Catholic nuns. Many years later, she took my brother and I to visit. My brother was welcomed with open arms. I, on the other hand, was kept at arm's length by the nuns. One even went so far as to call me a feral wild child. I would claim that. That's a compliment. Xenia. Oh, it's my pendant. Yes, it is. It's Sulis. I can't get close enough to the camera. Under my double chins. It is Sulis. It is a replica of the bronzed head that's at the Roman baths in Bath of Sulis Minerva. I love her. It's probably what's annoying the killer. Janet, thank you for your call to support libraries. Oh, always. As a librarian, totally jealous. I can say we are moving with the times and have good witchcraft books. I'm totally jealous. I would have loved to have been a librarian. Yeah, libraries. Good shout out for libraries. Sephora, new podcast for Easter. Chocolate and treasures. Chocolate's good. I'm just going through. Oh, Jackie has a book on the Essex dragon. If you're interested in dragons, have a look at your local legends and myths. I bet you there's a dragon legend there. And look at the place names. Anything with Drake in the place name or Dracone or anything drug, chances are that would have been a Dragon Hill or a Dragon Spot. Yeah, absolutely check your local stuff. David's descended from witches and pirates. That I can believe, David. I can absolutely believe. So yes, way of time, but who cares? Learning, always learning witchcraft. Find something that suits you. There's no right or wrong. Just check your sources. Check your sources that are reliable. Check the books are actually written by real authors. If that person has no online presence, that's a bit of a tell. If they don't give talks, if they don't appear anywhere, that's a good tell. Jane, so male duck is a dragon. Yeah, Drake, pretty much. Pretty much. There's got to be a whole story behind that, hasn't there? Oh, look, Heather's keeping me on my toes. Thank you. Next, Kitchen Witch online ritual, 13th of April, 7 p.m. UK time. Heather has done a chat about what we're doing, what we're covering. So hop on over to the Kitchen Witch Coven Facebook group or the Kitchen Witch YouTube channel and watch Heather's little video. And she tells you all about what we're doing and what you need. Sorry. Thank you, Nanette. Love your book. Struggled to read for a long time. Sometimes I have trouble still reading some books. I have written bigger books, obviously. I mean, I was gifted this at the weekend. I have to quickly show you this. How amazing is this? It's all embroidered. I was gifted it at the weekend. I just heart melty. But the Beneath the Moon is huge, but it's not meant to be read from start to finish. It's a reference book. But all of the Pagan Portal series, time to finish, isn't it? Easy to read, not huge tomes of work and all introductions. So yes, absolutely. Thank you, everyone. Yes, Drake will be about Sir Francis Drake. Yes, place names, dragon, hills, things. Buy the book, you'll find it. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining me, as always. And I will repeat, you are not alone. If anyone wants me to talk about anything particular, message me, give me the subject, I'll see what I can do. Check out the What's On pages on my website and on the Kitchen Witch website. And you're not alone. If you need any help, support, or just, a virtual hug, message myself and the team. And we will do whatever we can to support you. So thank you, everyone. Have a fabulous week. I have to tell you, the sun's gone in. Grey clouds and rain on the window, so I won't be going in the garden now. But have a fabulous week, everyone. And as always, take care of yourselves. And I will see you again next time.